And welcome to the Outs Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where you don't need a time machine in order to get some sweet, sweet throwback merch. Head over to royalretros.com, use the code FlightDeck at checkout, and you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper. You can follow me on X or Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
Bonjour, hi, I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
Which we'd actually heard quite a bit. And I learned a lot about Manitoba, by the way, being there. We heard a lot of French and English from a lot of the people that were there. And I honestly, I don't think it was necessarily because the Owls were there in Winnipeg for Grey Cup, but people may not know that there is a large French community just outside of Winnipeg.
Yeah, and actually, a couple sections of Winnipeg itself, St. Boniface, for example, is a very huge francophone community within Winnipeg itself. So yeah, you can hear quite a bit of French being spoken in Winnipeg. It was kind of nice. I'll be honest with you.
I heard it in our hotel. Um, one of the workers there had their radio on, and they were playing French radio.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was kind of a home away from home type of thing. Despite everybody with the Alouettes organization, obviously with them speaking French and English too, but just across the board, going into the convention center, hearing it, coming off the airplane, hearing it from the volunteers that were there. Um, it made for the entire experience itself, which we're going to be talking about, obviously, despite you know, despite the outcome of the game itself. And there really are no spoilers for this. I think everybody now knows that the Owls did not win their ninth Grey Cup. They did lose to the Saskatchewan Roughriders 25-17. But there's more to that story. There's more to the story itself. More than just the game. It's experience. A ton of stuff that the league debuted. I will admit they went all out on some of this stuff that I don't think we saw coming because it really wasn't announced prior to the game itself or prior to the week. We will talk about the game. We want to actually welcome you to show 299.
Mm.
So everybody knows what that means. Something's coming up for our next show, the big 300. But talk about our experience. I know you got there first. We did the podcast last week while you were already there, but
hmm
there was a lot to this. And I think depending on when you got into Winnipeg, it's what your experience was kind of like. Because I know when you and our executive producer Manel got in, we all got on different days. And when I got in on Thursday, I got greeted by some volunteers who were giving out some swag bags, and it's like I don't think you got that. Manel didn't get that, but you know, considering how many we ended up getting, I don't think it mattered. You know what I
It's
mean?
great.
So
Yeah, I tell you, when you're media, they roll out the red carpet for you. And again, thank you so much to not just the Canadian Football League, but the City of Winnipeg, the Grey Cup Festival, the organizers, uh, even our hotel that we stayed at gave us a swag bag. I mean, like
mhm.
my word, I mean, we were being inundated with all sorts of baubles and tchotchkes and such, and it's cool. It's really cool. I mean, again, we're
There's one,
just
there's one right there behind me. Mini
yeah,
football, mini with the Grey Cup logo.
yep. I mean, great collector's item. I mean, they always seems like every year they always try to outdo themselves as far as what they put into these swag bags for media members, and it's just so cool. Like just the fact that we can be a part of that is pretty awesome in and of itself. I mean, there seems to be like the staples of socks. You know, like they have a Grey Cup socks in there, a hat of
Mhm.
some sort.
Yeah.
Uh, is it mini football, which they seem to be getting away from the past couple of years, and I was a little disappointed. But so I was very happy to see the mini football back. I think it's a really cool thing to do, and yeah, just they just know how to make someone feel welcome.
Oh, for sure. And by the way, I know we're talking about it a little bit. Anybody who missed any of our coverage, please head over to our YouTube page. Um, there is a playlist there. I think we tied or surpassed what we did in 2023 as far as coverage goes and as far as content goes. We even pushed some of it out to just out to audio as a test for those who don't necessarily always go to our YouTube page first. But there is some stuff there also that we do put out on our audio page, and that's over at our archive over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. Um, but again, yeah, I mean, it's my first time in Winnipeg. First time being in the prairies for me. Um, you know, with Winnipeg being slightly smaller than Ottawa, but it's so funny how different those two cities. Just to use them as an example, to compare the two, they're completely different cities. Completely different cities. You really can't get around Winnipeg without a car. I mean, they do the bus system and stuff like that, but when it came to Grey Cup, there were shuttles for media. You could take Ubers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it was the stadium itself and versus where the media hotel was and the convention center. The stadium was really dead center. Either way, convention center or from the media hotel, you're about the same distance away, about 15 minutes or so, give or take. Give or take the traffic that first day. That was nuts. But still.
Yeah, I never would have figured Winnipeg to be a 15-minute city, but kind of is.
Yeah, exactly. So for you, I mean, what were your first, as I said, you got there first. We did the show last week. First impressions, really, because our last Grey Cup, remembering what happened when it came to the whole debacle, when it came to, I will say it, when it came to the French that was not used predominantly on the signage. We know it was last year in BC, and this year I loved how it was done more so across the board. And I don't know if it was because of the French population that is in Manitoba and inside Winnipeg. Maybe I don't know, but I kind of like what was done, how it was done. But what were your first impressions after getting off the airplane?
Mm. Well, I'd been to Winnipeg before, so I mean there was a lot to relearn quickly. Um, Honestly, as far as any sort of sorry, as far as any sort of new experience or anything like that, I mean, it was kind of interesting going back to Princess Auto Stadium because last time I was there, it was known as Investors Group Field. So, structurally, nothing's changed other than the signage. But I remember the first practice that I attended going down there, and sure enough, everything's bilingual. Like the kerfuffle that happened as a result of only Grey Cup stuff in 2023 in Hamilton, you weren't getting any of that this time around. I mean, this time around, you now had Coupe Grey or Coupe Grey Cup, making it bilingual, which is absolutely fantastic. Because as you said, Winnipeg is very much a bilingual city. I mean, predominantly English, but just enough French just to say that, oh yeah, they do speak it here, no problem. And yeah, I definitely think, I guarantee it had nothing to do with the fact that Montreal was in the Grey Cup. I mean, it was a series of unfortunate events that happened in Hamilton, but I would say the league definitely learned their lesson from that debacle and were committed to make sure that it never happened again. Funny enough, I was going to ask Marc-Antoine Dequoy what he thought about it, but I think he's taken enough ribbing as far as this whole gardez votre anglais, keep your English, which, again, he has always stated that it's in reference to the signage there. It's not like he's got any personal vendetta against anyone who's English speaking or anything like that. That's so not the case. I mean, it'd be kind of tough considering at work the language is predominantly English. So it'd be a little hard for him to hold a grudge or any disdain for any of his coworkers just because they speak English. So it it was nice to see. I'm not going to lie, it was definitely nice to see, and I'm glad that the league got in front of any sort of controversies or whatnot. So yeah, it just that first initial impression was, wow, okay, this is nice. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it was just seeing the volunteers coming off the airplane. I think had them in we had them in BC last year, but it wasn't to the extent that it wasn't for what it was, I think, in BC last year. Um, but for me, coming off, seeing the volunteers, seeing all the scrim and the signage and stuff like that, and it just worked really, really well. And I was impressed. I think, and that's the main thing too, Cliff, is that it gave a great first impression coming off the airplane. So it's I love what I saw. I love what I saw. And then again, you saw that you did see signage outside. You saw what was put up in the hotels and stuff like that. Downtown, that was one of the first places that we went was downtown and stuff like that. They did a great job. They really did a good job hosting everything at the convention center and stuff like that. I can't complain. I really can't complain. And obviously, that encompasses everything. Despite the issues that they had earlier when it came to the party passes, I'm sure that's one thing that will never happen again. You talk about live and learn. They lived and learned.
I hope so,
They really did.
because I mean, it seemed like everybody that wanted to go and participate where it was able to when it was all said and done. But why did it have to be such a bugaboo just to get passes? Like, you're literally begging them to give you to give them their money. Like, to
Yeah,
say, hey, listen, I want to come here. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to have a couple of adult beverages. I want to have something to eat. I want to buy some merch. But the idea of having to charge, like, okay, I get, it's to help run the facilities and things like that, you do need to charge some sort of a cover, but like, then it should be all encompassing, all whatever. Like, I think it's like, know, $50 a day, or if you take all 3 days, like that, I think is relatively reasonable. If it does give you all access to all the party rooms and everything like that, or if you do it daily, like, $99 a day, I think it was. So again, I think it's I think there's a certain value to it, to being able to go and participate in all this stuff, but to limit it like they did initially just made absolutely no sense. I mean, like, people don't come to Grey Cup just for the concerts, and I get you how you want to make sure that everything is sold out, so you have the impression that, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people here. But like you said, I think lessons were learned, and I hope that the people in Calgary who will be hosting the Grey Cup next year, and Regina, who hosted it a couple years ago and will be hosting again in 2027, I hope they saw that as, and sort of took that as a lesson of what not to do when it comes to trying to organize party passes and concert series and things of that nature. So again, to be fair, Winnipeg hasn't hosted a Grey Cup since 2015. Maybe they're a little shaky on just exactly how it goes.
well, I'm wondering that if Montreal does get a 28 Grey Cup, what they'll do. And yeah, I know you and I talked about it. We have the capacity to do it right. We have the place to do it right because this is not going to be like the festival was in 2008 over at Plaster Canada. There's no way. And you know what? To be honest with you, Cliff, I did notice too that even I swear the few times I know I went back to the convention center a few times at night, the crowds compared to last year were completely different. Completely different.
Mhm.
I really felt that they were smaller in a way. Now, mind you, everything wasn't connected. They had the fan zone elsewhere outside of the convention center. Um, the Owls party that was set up last minute was set what 20 minutes away by car, if that.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah,
Um,
hold on. I just want to do a quick sidebar on that. I got a bit of
yeah,
a little something to say about that. And I hope, I know that the Alouettes organization listens to us. They hear our concerns. They hear, when we shower praise upon them, it's deserved. When we critique something, it's not just to bag on them or anything like that. Like, it's coming from a place of concern and wanting better for not just the organization but for the league and everything like that. Announcing a Grey Cup party 2 days before the actual Grey Cup is completely ass backwards. Like this should have been in the program, like the program that they give out, throughout the Grey Cup Festival, letting you know who, what, where, when, and how. That should be in there. Like you don't decide at the 11th hour. Oh, you know what? Golly gee, we're playing in the Grey Cup. We should have a party of our own. No. Years ago, when they decided to make the Eastern Social Hall and basically put all 4 Eastern teams, because again, comparing it to Ryderville or BC Lions Den or Stamps House or Christ, even the Schooners Party, for God's sakes, a friggin' team that doesn't even exist has a better party room than the frickin' Alouettes. Explain that one to me. It boggles the mind. Be a part of the Grey Cup or don't be a part of the Grey Cup, but for God's sake, this taking over a nightclub and like being away from the convention center, being away from all the fans, basically forcing everybody to drop what they're doing to converge on this club, which, by the way, from what I was told, the first hour or so was fine. Like, it felt like a Grey Cup party, but then they let every Tom, Dick, and Harry come in and bring their crew in, and it just became like lost in the sauce, quite frankly. Like we didn't stay very long. Like we went because I think we feel there's this obligation to support anything Alouettes related, but no former players, no administration. Like, okay, the cheerleaders were there, Touche was there, and I guess okay, that's cool, but then after that, it just looked like any other nondescript nightclub, playing really bad music and charging way too much for drinks and cover charges and nonsense like that. Like, it's just
that cover charge and standing outside to wait, I will admit, it's versus compared to what the last 2 years, they weren't in it last year, but yet the Alouettes had a room all to themselves for the Vancouver Convention Center. In 23, yes, they shared a space with the the East Socials, but still, at one point, it was the Alouettes nest for an X period of time. And I agree with you.
And what was wrong with that? Like, even if you took the Eastern Social Hall and said, okay, say Thursday night you're Ottawa House, Friday you're Toronto Hamilton, and then Saturday you're Montreal. Like, surely you could do something along those lines to make include all the teams, but at the same time give the same room its own sort of special flair depending on which team you support. I mean, it
should have been set up like Vancouver. It should have been set up like Vancouver. Point blank. It should have been set up like Vancouver was last year. And I was going to say too, and I'm agreeing with you on this one, is because twice. Now, yes, I'd received some information that it was going to happen, then it wasn't going to happen, and then it happened.
And that's the other thing too.
I'm not shooting the messenger on that one. It's just that you go and you ask somebody. Go.
At the same time, though, this sitting on the fence nonsense, literal days before the Grey Cup, looks so incredibly Bush League. Could you imagine if that happened for the Super Bowl? Like, I mean, I know that they don't have, to the best of my knowledge, because I've never been to a Super Bowl, I don't believe they have specific team parties for for the Super Bowl weekend or whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, I mean, and this has happened far too often. Like, people always ask, how come the Alouettes don't do this? How come the Alouettes don't do that? How come the Alouettes don't have more fans coming to this? How come there's always so many questions as to how the Alouettes just seem to, like, it's almost like they don't want to be a part of the Grey Cup, even if they're playing in the Grey Cup. And that's the part I can't wrap my head around. If you're not in the Grey Cup, it's one thing to sort of say, you know what, we're not going to blow our brains out and spend X number of dollars on this for something that may or may not draw a lot of people. But the demand is certainly there. And when your team is in the Grey Cup
last year, Vancouver last year,
the demand goes through the roof exponentially when your team is actually playing in the Grey Cup game. I mean, Ryderville's going to be packed no matter what. But I mean, that's kind of an outlier right there. But at the same time, if you're going to do something like this, do it properly. The sitting on the fence nonsense is such amateur hour BS. And quite frankly, it's to the point, like, if in Calgary next year they decide to go. I kind of hope they just go back to like all 4 Eastern teams in the one hall, and like I suggested, if you want to do like a Montreal night, an Ottawa night, a Hamilton Toronto night, cool. I'm down with that. It's quite frankly, if they decide to have another party like like what they had like at an outside random nightclub or whatever in Calgary, I'm not going to go. I why would I?
To
Unless
me,
you
it
want
was
me to.
shades of the 100th Grey Cup, where they had one at a caucus at a bar also. And two is that we hear there was supposed to be one, and then you ask the volunteers, and they had no clue. That's the other thing too. If you have random, Joe Fan come in and say, "Oh, I'd like to attend the Alouettes one," and didn't see anything on social media, or somebody doesn't, frequent social media, how would they have known? And I get it. It's the cheerleaders make it every year. They go every year.
Yeah.
But was it because of the change in the upper echelon, the structure this year? Could that have been a reason? It's possible. Was it Mark Waitman's thing to set this type of stuff up? Maybe, but still.
And even if it wasn't, this you shouldn't even have to think about it. Like, I mean, the minute the Alouettes qualified for the playoffs, that's when you start deciding, okay, what do we do? Can we book a room in the convention center? Is it too late for that? Is there some sort of way we could have a little something there that's included with everything? Because I mean, again, with what people pay for the festival passes, you should you should have access to everything. To ask people to go off site to a party, and if you're going to charge a cover, I get it, fine, but for crying out loud, like, make it worthwhile. Like, I mean, I just felt like I went to some random club in Winnipeg. Like,
We did.
it had a slight Alouettes flavor to it.
We did.
Like, and I'm sorry, I just didn't enjoy it. Maybe I'm getting too old for the nightclub BS and all that nonsense.
It would have been funny, because I saw
What's
the
that?
commercials, and I saw the different videos and stuff like that were at the Palomino Club, where the Owls caucus was held. I would have had more fun if they had had one of their foam parties that they have had there before. That would have been a party. That would have been a party.
It would have been original. I'll give you that. I mean, I've never attended a foam party, but you know what? Just to make something different, like, how I talk about how les gars qui vivent, or sorry, les fans qui vivent, do, and they top themselves every year when it comes to tailgate, like coming out with like stuff that's completely original and far beyond the usual standard hot dog and hamburgers that you see at a tailgate. Yeah. If you were to do a foam party at Grey Cup, I don't believe that's ever been done before. And I think it's just one of those things that would really stand out. Like, people would be like, holy crap, I went to, the Alouettes caucus, and they had a friggin' foam party going on. It was crazy, y'all. I mean, again, your traditional Grey Cup goer that's been going for 20-odd years and whatever may not see the joy in something like that, or may not see that as interesting, but maybe not. Maybe they would see, okay, this is something a little outside of the box, something a little original. Okay, I wasn't expecting to go to a foam party, but here we are. Like, just something, anything.
As we talk about in a couple of minutes, it would become part of Grey Cup lore. It's something everybody would want to go to. Everybody would talk about, negatively or positively. I mean, hey, I'll go to a foam party, and at the same time, get my clothes washed at the same time. You know what I mean?
It would be different.
Needless to say, Owls need to do better in Calgary. Point blank.
Just
I appreciate the idea of having the party, but there's a lot to be desired. A lot to be desired.
A lot, for sure. And listen, this is you're talking to two guys that will, I will say, defend anything the Alouettes do. Necessarily, we wouldn't do that, but at the same time, it's got to make sense too. And especially like for your average Grey Cup party goer, like, have it at the convention center. Like, just even if you're part of the Eastern Social Hall, even, I mean, there's certainly ways you can do it. And you know what? You don't decide days before the event. Oh, let's have a party. Oh no, we're not gonna do a party. Oh, let's have a party. No, the minute your bloody team qualifies for the playoffs, that's when you start your party planning. That's when you decide, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna like
Just do it. Just point
yeah.
blank. Just do it.
If you build it, they will come. If you just announce it, and again, it's a lot easier too when it's in the program, even if it is just like the Saturday night. Because okay, expecting the Alouettes to do a like a
Vancouver was.
Riderville or Spirit of Edmonton or anything like that, that's a little ambitious, a little too ambitious, I think, for your average Alouettes fans. Considering that of all 9 teams that travel to Grey Cup, I find Alouettes fans are only now starting to realize, oh my, this is a lot of fun when you go to the Grey Cup. Look at all the things that are going on. This is great. So it's going to take a little bit of time for them to, merit their own party room status. But
Yeah.
you got to start somewhere. I mean, and I
agree.
think this would be the way to go. Would be even if you just go back to the Eastern Social Hall and have like an Alouettes night per se.
I agree. People weren't there. It was broken up into different parts of the convention center, and also they had something which we didn't make too. And this is part, as I was saying before, this is part of Grey Cup lore, and I think people understand why there's so many things that happened this week. Actually, one of it happened before, so I don't want to talk about Saturday before we talk about what happened. I think it was Friday, and this again story. This is where stories will be remembered forever. Again, you want to be remembered as part of Grey Cup lore, and so everything was broken up. You had the social, you had all the party rooms in one area, broken up, and then you had in other location that was just slightly down from the convention center, which wasn't like last year in BC where everything was together. You had the fan zones and other things too. But on Friday is where I'm going to call it shenanigans. I'll say, which is where the lore started for this year in history. The the alarm at the convention center went off. Uh, and the stories I heard where is basically, God, don't worry. It's like, just to let you know, you don't need to evacuate. I mean, don't worry about it. It may be going off, but don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So,
It's like the everything's okay alarm from The Simpsons.
yes, yes. So that's where it started. And then I'll use this one because we'll talk about the other part of that I said, which was part of history, is we were trying to get to that said location where the fan zone was, the Grey Cup. They had some whole bunch of things, interactive stuff, but couldn't because the Santa Claus parade was scheduled the same night in Winnipeg.
Yeah, that was
So
on the
you wanted
Saturday.
to get across the street at that particular time after 5 o'clock? Forget it. Forget it.
Yeah, that was so bizarre. It's not like there's any other weekend that you could have had the Santa Claus parade. You decided to do it on Grey Cup weekend?
Hey, what's funny
Really?
though is it was in the program. It was in the festival program.
Incredible.
I mean, what we saw in Santa Claus parade was cool, and it was at night.
Mhm.
You know, the one from Montreal is coming up, I think, either this weekend or next, and it's during the day. This one was at night. It was cool because everybody, you know, think of the parades they do at Disney, but not as grandiose. You know,
Yeah,
it was cool, but still, it
sure, but
hampered to getting to that other location. So, but all in all, from what I saw, it was cool. Everything did well. Uh, the coat check was easy peasy. The multiplications of the merchandise stands. Obviously, as we were talking about before, the selling of the passes had to do with the concert series. and everybody was talking about the rec laws on at the Team Manitoba room on Saturday was off the hook supposedly.
So was
Um,
Alan Doyle.
yeah, Alan Doyle too. Yep, yep. Formerly of our Great Big Sea, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, anybody who doesn't know who Great Big Sea is, go look them up. They're a good Atlantic band.
And if you don't
Um,
know, then don't go to Grey Cup because you're going to hear a lot. Well, actually, no, do come to Grey Cup because you're going to hear a lot of Great Big Sea and Spirit of the West and so many other great Canadian bands just
yeah,
rocking out. So,
yeah. Well, look at the pregame. Look at the pregame concert for the Grey Cup.
mm-hmm.
A band that's near and dear to your heart. Talk about what we had set up to do. Obviously, we did interviews. You and our executive producer Manon did interviews at the media day, which I think originally was supposed to be set up one way, and I'm glad they set it up the way that they did. Um, for those who didn't know, when Cliff was doing the Tyler Sneed interview,
No, Davis
the
Alexander.
sorry, Davis Alexander, the TSN cameras and the hot mics picked up part of the conversation, and it made Sports Center on Thursday night,
Mm-hmm.
which was pretty damn cool. Um, it
Just a
just
little bit.
goes to show that Big Brother's watching.
Yeah. And hey, I have
um,
no. If TSN wants to steal my stuff, I got no problem with that. I mean, I'll give them credit. They didn't blur out the Alouettes Flightdeck logo on the microphone,
nope, no, they did not.
but it was clear as day. Like like I know they frame it in such a way, the subject in such a way so that you don't know who's doing the interview. So I mean, in theory, it could be anybody, could be even be doing TSN. But when you got that big old Alouettes Flightdeck logo right there,
Yeah,
you know what's up. And yeah, I
yeah.
was
It,
floored, quite frankly, floored when you had messaged me to let me know because I was actually at the media party with that's hosted by Dave Niller and Farhan Lalji of TSN, which was absolutely a great event in and of itself. But then when you sent me the screenshot and of it being on Sports Center and saying that the actual answer to that's the thing, it was the answer to the question that I posed him that was used, like that footage was. So you don't see me, you don't hear my question, but you get a statement from Davis in a sense, but it's in answering to me. So
no,
again,
no, you hear the question. You hear the question. For
oh,
context, you do hear the question, so you do hear you.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, then I guess I didn't. When I watched it, I guess I didn't hear it. Or maybe I was just like, "Holy cow,
Yeah,
this is
because there
still
would have been no
surreal."
context. There would have been no context. It went into the narrative that was done the entire week when it came to Davis's wicked hamstring. So
Yes,
there had to be some sort of narrative, um, or
fair
context rather.
enough. Yes.
But but still, we've done those before. The last two Grey Cups we've done, the Owls have been. We've done those type of things,
Mm.
and it just went from there. It was a great experience in itself. Having, again, I know you said it before, but thank you to the CFL for fully accrediting us, uh, the entire team for the entire weekend,
Mm.
being able to do stuff that we didn't think that we would be able to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Full
inter-
full access to the field, full access to be able to do our and post game shows from the field at Princess Auto Stadium. Those are available on our YouTube page, by the way, and in the same uh, playlist that I was talking about. I mean, you know, we got to do stuff that we didn't. Being in the press box, I'm not going to complain. I am not going to complain.
yeah,
Um, it afforded us the right to be able to do everything that we did this past week. That people were able to see.
yep, and that's why we did it, folks. For you to enjoy, to whether you listen, you watch on YouTube, however it is that you consume the Alouettes Flight Deck. I mean, it was an opportunity for us to help get you to know your Alouettes a little bit better, to get to see them in a different light. Because it's one thing to watch them on a regular game day or whatever, or if you ever go to practice, to talk to them during practice as well, but this is the Grey Cup we're talking about here. Like, this is the premier event. To be able to have be able to give you folks behind the scenes access like that with these guys after practice and on media day as well is just far beyond my wildest dreams. It is the kind of coverage that I've always dreamt of being able to provide each and every one of you, and to be able to do so it's a privilege. There's no question it's a privilege, and one that I'm very, very thankful for. I mean, again, we put in the work, so there's a little part of me that says, well, you deserve this. I'm like, well, deserve is a subjective thing, I think. I mean, the way I see it, we were given the opportunity, and it was up to us to run with it. And when we were given that
responsible media that we are, we did.
Well, we ran. We definitely ran with it. We were going to do everything we possibly can, talk to as many players, coaches, what have you as possible. And yeah, I'm so thrilled with how everything turned out. And like I said, a portion of my interview with QB1, QB Fun, Davis Alexander, ended up on TSN.
I know.
Holy cow. Like that. I mean, I would wish that for every podcaster that goes to the Grey Cup and covers their team that they do. If they get that opportunity, I would love it if every podcaster had the chance to do that and be taken seriously, along with like the TSN, the RDSs, the Sportsnets, and all those guys. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's a big enough table everybody can sit down to eat, right?
New and old media. I agree with you.
Exactly. And I'm just, again, so thankful that TSN, or not TSN, but the CFL itself, that organizes all of this, and their media people, they look at us and say, hey, you belong here. You grab your microphone and your camera and you go talk to those guys. Like, done deal. No problem. And we get to bring this to each and every one of you. So yeah, folks, if you haven't already, check out that YouTube link. We'll put it in our socials yet again, but I'm so proud of the body of work that Tim and I were able to do this past week at Grey Cup. It was such a phenomenal experience.
And then it goes more to the Grey Cup load I was talking about. We know what happened at the convention center on Friday night. Walkthrough day on Saturday it gave even more to the Grey Cup lore of this game. Is that while we're there, all of a sudden the alarm at Princess Audio Stadium goes off in the entire while everybody is doing interviews. Because it was really just a walkthrough, doing interviews. All the media that was there. We're doing ours with Don Callis.
Callis, yeah.
Yeah.
Great kid, by the way. If you folks haven't heard, I'm really happy with that interview, just because, like I said, I saw a lot of similarity. Like, his story is very similar to the one of Reggie Stubblefield. And I brought that up to him during the interview as well. A young rookie who's had a great camp, played outstanding, unfortunately got cut during the season, invited back a couple weeks later, when injuries started to pile up, wearing number 35 like Reggie did when he was with the Alouettes. I mean, the similarities were uncanny. I said to him, I don't know if you believe in coincidences or anything like that, but even he was surprised. Like, he didn't quite understand, or it was not didn't understand. He had a hard time wrapping his head around, like, wow, this is eerie, on like how similar these instances are. So
yeah, and
then while this was going on, while we were having this absolutely great chat with Don, you hear the blank, 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 which admittedly threw me a little bit. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, go back
turn that
and
off,
watch the
please.
interview. Go back and watch the interview. You'll see it does actually. I rarely do I see you rattled, but it got you. I won't say it startled you. It took you out of the moment for a quick second.
That's it. Yeah, because again, I want to give these guys the time that they deserve. I want to give them their opportunity to showcase themselves, even if it's just for a couple of minutes, just to let Alouettes Nation know who they're cheering for. And yeah, just to have like a fire alarm going off in a stadium. What the hell? Like, oh, I mean, I suppose it's better
give context. Make sure you give context. I was going to, but since you're telling the story now, make sure you give context on the reasoning for the alarm going off.
Yeah, there was believe it or not, a water main break at the stadium. I guess it's I guess it's better that it happened on walkthrough Saturday than during the actual Grey Cup game itself. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if that had happened during the actual Grey Cup game? It would be insane. And you had to clear out the stadium. You stop this, and like, but yeah, like
Which they
the
told
fact that
us
this,
too, by the way, so people don't know. They actually did say physically, and I think we found out it ended up being one of the sprinklers that where the rupture was.
yeah,
They literally said, "Evacuate the stadium," literally, and then they allowed us to come back in. But did we evacuate? Nobody left. Well, some did.
well,
Some did. I think that were in a certain section in the stadium. They did leave, and then they ended up coming back in.
yeah, and also too, there was supposed to be a post practice scrum with a couple players and the head coach Jason Moss, and unfortunately
Yeah.
that ended up being canceled as a result of, you know, for the same reason why I was having a little bit of initial struggle with the Don Callis interview. Could you imagine trying to ask Jason Moss or, you know,
Not in that room.
nope, not with the fire alarm going off constantly. It would just be silly. And I
We're in,
get it.
by the way, the Forge FC locker room. That's where we were. That's where this was set up at Princess Auto.
Valor FC
Sorry, Ballard. What did I say?
Forge. That's Hamilton.
Okay, that's Hamilton. Yeah. But yeah, everything led into to the game itself. I mean, it was, as I said, I kept saying Grey Cup lore. This will be a part of Grey Cup lore. Grey Cup lore. It really will. So,
Take a shot every
by
time
the way,
Tim says "break up lore." You're gonna be wasted in no time.
there you go. The drinking game episode. Just we'll go ahead and mention this now so we can continue. Whoops, wrong one. We're on social media. You can find us everywhere. All the podcast aggregates, including Spotify, by the way. You can find our show. Also, the entire history is over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. We're on X and Blue Sky over at Alouettes FL Deck, Facebook over at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flight Deck. And as I mentioned before, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell to know when we to get notifications on when we do go live or there is a new show available. And audio versions there, full broadcast version of the podcast that's there, and including the entire season. That's right. I did say it. It's done for 2025. The entire season of Flight Deck Live is available over on YouTube. Looking for merch for the off season or maybe for Christmas? Maybe. FlightDeckGear.ca. Part of the if you know, you know merch line. Logo merch. Cartoon Bird 56. The Big Mac. It's all there for you. Also, almost just so people know, because this is merch related. Thank you to everybody who purchased our second run of our pins that we collaborated with Pin Force, Cartoon Bird 56, and our logo pins. They went hot. We do have very few left. I mean, I think we're talking less than 5. Please DM us if you haven't got one already, and we will make sure that you do get it or hold it for you for next season. We got to decide what we're going to do.
There is currently no mail strike though, so I mean, if you want, we could put them in the mail for you. So that is an option. So yeah, definitely, as Tim said, slide into our DMs, and if you want to get some of those pins, they're absolutely beautiful. And yes, we still have every intention of donating the proceeds to the CFL Fans Fight Cancer Initiative. Even though the event itself is over, they are still accepting donations all the way up to the end of the year. So if you want to help us help this incredible cause even further, you know what to do.
With our I need to get this straight again. If you go to pinforce.io, use the code Flightdeck at checkout, you'll save 15% off. The pins are not there. They haven't been from day one. I'm sorry if there was a misunderstanding about that. But if you're a fan of comic books, a fan of historical arena football stuff, there's a whole slew of pins that are there from the sister site of Fansets. Fanset is the company that holds the CBS and Paramount Plus contract for everything Star Trek. And also, finally, our first year of our partnership and having them as our presenting sponsor, Royal Retros, where if you use the code Flightdeck at checkout, you will save 10% off by heading over to royalretros.com. And I didn't get to say it on the last show, but I will say it now. Thank you also to Sport Buff for being our powering sponsor for Flight Deck Live this year. We hope to have both of them back and many more in 2026. It was great partnering with everybody this year. No, didn't forget anything. Okay.
No. We got to talk about this game, don't we?
Got to talk about it.
Let's.
It's kind of like, and you came up with a very interesting, and it is the name of the name of the show this week. It is Hamstrung. It just seemed to be, and people got tired of it, I will admit, but it was, if this would have been something in the NFL or anywhere else when it came to a major one and done game, it would be a big story there too. Yes, the story was Davis Alexander's hamstring. He had gone, since coming back, he looked like he'd been playing well enough because of all the work that he had been doing, all the rehab and stuff like that. Tweaked it last week in the East Final. And coming into this one, it was how good Davis would be. Yeah. It ended up being him saying it was anywhere between 70 and 95%. Again, I'm going to reiterate what we found out earlier last week, is that Davis has been dealing with this since April, where he was running circle routes and he tweaked it. I know they mentioned today, and this is getting ahead a little bit, but I know they mentioned today in the postseason press conference for the team, they talk about maybe Davis did do, and it's possible for some athletes to do too much training. So they're going to be monitoring him going forward. And I think people got tired of hearing they're thinking it's just one-sided thing. Coming off as it's just the Davis Alexander show, which was not the case. Which I think supposedly turned some people off on Davis Alexander, thinking he was a cocky SOB. He needed to get hurt. The Saskatchewan defense needed to take him out as quickly as possible. That type of, or he was faking that type of thing. As we found out, Davis was okay for 55 minutes. But it wasn't 100%. Davis Alexander was not 100% in this game.
No.
Was it the cause for some of the issues that happened when it came to his play? Most likely. But as they all said, despite what happened with Shea Patterson in the fourth, it's a team thing, and they all stuck by that.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on what you thought when it came to the narrative that was pushed forward really by most media that was there because of what Davis Alexander was dealing with.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit on I'll definitely talk about that, but I'll backtrack a little bit because the day before, a certain local media member decided that he liked Davis Alexander because, like him, he was cocky and confident. And the minute that this pompous ass compared himself to Davis Alexander, I had a feeling we'd be cooked. And sure enough, that ended up being the case. But I digress. Yes, the media that was there of course, they're going to ask about the hamstring. There's no question about that. Hell, even I asked Davis, like, "Are you sick and tired of all the hamstring talk?" And he kind of said, "No, it's going to be a part of it." He accepted his role in this narrative, if you will. Like he understood he had a part to play, and he did play it to the best of his abilities. I think a lot of people too were getting kind of annoyed with his antics on the field. Making what I thought was the money Manziel move, but no, you're right. It's come at me, bro, kind of like that. Like that's more the move that Davis was making, and just showing that energy and excitement. And I guess that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, or it made him look like cocky, arrogant, and all of a sudden there's this vitriol against Davis Alexander, and people wanted to see him get his, and now they wanted to see him lose because he'd been undefeated as a starting quarterback up until that point. Like all of a sudden, I use the term in pro wrestling, heel. He became a heel, and he, I think, embraced it. He even said to me, like, if that's what they need me to be, then that's what I'm going to be. Like, people that know Davis Alexander know who he really is. We've known him for years, and we definitely think the world of him. Joe Fan, who's not a Montreal Alouettes fan, probably can't stand the sight of him, with his punchable face, and he wants to see him get hurt, or at least I don't want to believe people don't really want to see him get hurt, but they want to see him get his comeuppance. And well, ultimately you did. But the one thing that can't be taken away, though, is that when Davis was on the field, he made mistakes. He was not perfect. He did not look like the quarterback that had blown the doors off of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and, to a lesser extent, bested the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I won't say he looked average, because he wasn't average, but he definitely made mistakes. He showed that he was human after all. He wasn't perfect, but he still kept fighting all the way to the bitter end. He said he would die to win a Grey Cup. And I won't say he came close. That's a little extreme, but he truly left it all out on the field. When the clock hit 0, you can definitely look at Davis Alexander and say he did everything within his power to win this game for the Montreal Alouettes. Unfortunately, though, came up short, made some very questionable plays. Some of the interceptions that he threw, maybe he shouldn't have been throwing those. I'm sure, without question, he would have loved to have a couple of those back. And it's tough because, that's what people are going to remember now. And I'm sure even people are still reveling and joyous in the fact that, oh, he got his, oh, he got shown what's what, Rider Nation made him look like an idiot, Okay,
No,
if that's
that's the thing. Davis did not get sacked. Did not get sacked, despite having the issue with his hamstring. People want to know what the Davis Alexander was at this game. People need to go watch part 3 of the CFL docuseries that they had, his pregame speech. And then after that, you want to know, is Davis Alexander faking? I want you to go and you watch the very end when he did pull up lame, the scream of pain that came out of his mouth.
And that he was willing to get back out
said,
there.
He would die for this team to get him to the cup.
Yeah, all the way to the very last play, where he threw up a prayer into the end zone.
70 yards. That to me, by the way, despite the loss, despite what happened, seeing his arm strength is something that we've seen from day one till now. Can people imagine him coming in 100% next year? If he's able to start off exactly how he started, if he can start off 2026 like he did 2025, boy, people need to watch out.
Yeah, I had said Davis Alexander is going to win multiple Grey Cups in this league. God willing, it's going to be with the Montreal Alouettes. This clearly wasn't his time, and I give full credit to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They worked their plan nearly to perfection. They did everything right. Like they made very few mistakes. They did just enough that Montreal had to work extra hard just to hang with them, and they damn near did. But isn't it funny, though, Tim, that I think this is now the 3rd straight game where Trevor Harris denied the Montreal Alouettes victory. including the time
Think
where he was
I
on
didn't
the Montreal Alouettes.
I didn't think about that, you're right. I did not think about that.
I think that was one factor that kind of got
Oh,
overlooked in all the Davis Alexander talk and all the the narrative of can Trevor Harris win the big game? Like if Davis Alexander didn't have a hamstring issue, that would have been the issue, and then maybe all that pressure that was on Davis would have been on Trevor Harris. The fact that yes, he's won 2 Grey Cups, but as a backup, this was his. He had one opportunity to win as a starter when he was with the Ottawa Red Blacks in 2018, came up short. Ever since then, it's always been he's been the bridesmaid, but never the bride. But this time around, and some may argue this may have been his last chance to show that he can lead a team to the Grey Cup, and he did. So I give Trevor full marks. Played a hell of a game. Ridiculous stats, even though he's the first person that'll tell you stats are for losers, but his completion percentage was 85%.
yeah, tops in Grey
He
Cup history.
could not be sacked. No one even came close to him. So give credit to the O-line for they played a phenomenal game, giving him the time and space to do what he does best. And as I've said before on multiple occasions, and it's shown, especially against the Montreal Alouettes, if you give Trevor Harris time and space, he will carve you up like a Thanksgiving turkey. And for the most part, that's what he did. Like it was mostly the ground game that was doing a lot of the work for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but Trevor Harris had the chance. He let it fly, and
Yeah,
I think he got that gorilla, not a monkey off his back, but a gorilla off his back in the sense that can he win the big one? Can he finally win the big one as a starting quarterback? Well, this past Sunday, he did it. He did it. So give him props.
there were what ifs
Mm.
in this game. We talk about Trevor Harris. The what if to me, it was a series of events in the first quarter. Um, if it wasn't for Kabian and Kabian had, I will admit, superstar in this league.
Mhm.
Very important part of the Alouettes defense.
Unquestionably.
Past 3 games, it's been really tough for him. It really has. It's not the
And
Kabian that we remember from 23.
I full marks to Kabion for this. When we spoke with him at the walkthrough, he acknowledged that he did not play his best game in the Eastern Final, and he said he was going to be better. But he had a pick 6 wrapped up and served to him on a silver platter.
The worst
And
pass that Trevor Harris threw all day.
yep, and to Kabion Nento of all people. And what does Kabion do? Looks at Gibbs' horse in the mouse, and yeah, just
That may
hits
have
his
turned it
hands.
right there. Who knows what would have happened if he had scored that? Who knows?
We know what would have happened. I mean, historically, and other players have said this too, you get to Trevor right away. He gets rattled easily.
Mhm.
Maybe that's changed over time as he's gotten older and wiser, but I mean, it's all well and good to say that. But I mean, if KB Nento takes that to the house and the Alouettes are leading by 6 or 7 at that point, 6, 7, right?
Ah.
There you go. Shout out to Gen Z.
It wouldn't have been they would the Bombers wouldn't have walked away with that rouge that they got, which is what's
Riders.
that sorry. God, thank you.
I know I
I
know
keep
the game was played in the stadium of the Bombers, but I
That's why I'm
promise you.
thinking, I know, but yes, Riders. The Riders would not have scored a rouge. And then there was the play, the Kabian Ento DPI, not DPI, and I have watched it again. It occurred when with a ballsy move by the Rough Riders to go for this on third down. Basically, obviously they're trying to get a first down, trying to score a touchdown. But Kabian stops them, knocks the ball down. It's a turnover on downs. The wide receiver does not protest in any single way at all. You would think that it was egregious, that would have been it. But Saskatchewan's head coach, Corey Mace, throws a challenge flag during the commercial break, and they deem it a DPI, which gave them an automatic first down,
Mhm.
and then they scored. Um, I watched it again. I don't know if you have yet, but I watched it a few times along with the Shea Patterson thing, which we'll be talking about.
Mm.
And it is what it is. It was called DPI. I get that. My only thought is because Kabian had his arm at the time wrapped around or potentially wrapped around the waist of the wide receiver,
Mhm.
even though it did not affect his route in any way. Would that have been called in the regular season? Probably not. Um, but they call it what they called. Again, it was a bang bang play. Again, as I said, the wide receiver didn't make any fuss at all.
No.
So, and the replay center is another topic for another day. But you saw the call finally in the play? What did you think? Was it warranted? Was it right? Obviously, it is what it is. But to you,
If you go strictly by letter of the law, then yes, what Kavian Ento did was enough to draw a DPI. As you said, though, it was a
yet
bang
not
bang play.
initially by the ref. It had to
No,
go upstairs.
right. Initially, bang bang play. Thought it was a great defensive effort by Kavion, which we have come to expect out of him. And again, Saskatchewan could have settled for the field goal. They were well within Brett Lothar range. Although I say that, and later on in the game, he did end up bricking a field goal in relatively the same area of the field. But I digress. I think you're right. If this was a regular season game, they probably just would be like, let it go. But because it's a Grey Cup, because everything is magnified to the nth degree, and you got so many cameras watching and so many people so many people paying attention, I'm sure the referees didn't feel like they could afford to screw this up, and somebody in the booth called it down and said, or Corey, or somebody called down to Corey Mace to challenge the
Yeah.
play, which was again the smart thing to do early in the game to maybe try a challenge. But I mean, I guess at that point they felt like they needed to get the momentum back, on their side. So, and it worked. Kudos to them for doing it. I mean, do I think it was DPI? 9 times out of 10, I'd say no. That was just little hand fightings to be expected as well. But I couldn't call this necessarily egregious per se. And I
Oh.
think I know that's their big thing, is that they want to ensure that anything that's egregious gets called. I don't know if I'd call this egregious per se. I mean, as I said, by letter of law, yes, there was just enough of a hand on the waist to say, "Hey, whoa, hold on here. You're doing something here." But I would say 9 times out of 10, that call just kind of gets looked the other way. They look the other way on that one. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm guessing simply just because it's a Grey Cup that this sort of thing gets amplified to a much bigger level.
Davis was on. I mean, despite the hamstring issue, Davis was able to hit some dimes. I mean, early on to Tyson Philpott, it won to Sneed,
An
beautiful play.
absolute beauty to
50.
Sneed. Holy moly!
Yeah, yeah.
I
That
mean,
was the Davis. The dimes that Davis been throwing. That's what we've been come to know.
yeah.
Um, it's just that it's really how they were finishing on some of them. One, it was a field goal. It could have been a touchdown. Obviously, the interceptions. Davis's first pass into double coverage was an interception.
Mm,
There's one later on in the second half which shouldn't have been thrown either.
yeah.
Um, but again, Davis used his example. I mean, every bit of Alouettes offense was working well when it was.
Mhm.
What's funny is that rarely do I think of a team being able to win. I know it was only an 8-point win. But Saskatchewan had, their second down conversions, Cliff, on this game, man. They only converted 39% of them. The Owls were at 50. I mean, sure, it wasn't perfect. Yes, I think the time of possession was almost identical. Saskatchewan had more yards because Trevor Harris was passing yards.
Mhm.
But Davis was able to get some of these guys, into the. He was able to get them, get to them when necessary. I mean, 22 of 34, 284. The big thing was the 3 interceptions and no touchdowns. And as I said on Flightdeck Live, the post-game show, it's very rare that you have a Davis Alexander not throw for a touchdown.
It's
Um,
true. I mean,
Stevie Scott played really well.
oh my
78
goodness.
yards. He led the team on 15 carries, got a touchdown. Shea Patterson also had a touchdown. Our little
Yep.
Ralph Wiggum. If
Mhm.
you know, you know. Tyson Philpott led the team in receiving, 87 yards. Uh, Rambo, Tyler Snead at 78. Charleston Rambo, 50. Stevie Scott, 27. That's what I'm liking, by the way, out of the backfield. I'm so looking forward to that for next year.
Oh yeah. I
Cole
mean,
Speaker,
we
24. Jay, 17. Mac, nothing, but good to see Mac was playing. He was a game time decision. I think really, though, the big thing, too, is that Samuel Elmas, who was named the most outstanding Canadian, he was 10 for 10 on a night for 108 yards.
yeah, he definitely earned most outstanding Canadian. I mean, he played absolutely phenomenal. And let's not forget, he's a Montreal kid too.
Yeah.
The '09 Grey Cup was the first one that he watched, and that kind of helped inspire him to be a football player. Just cheering on his at that time his Montreal Alouettes. Even the number 19 that he wears is an homage to friend of the show S.J. Green. I mean, as far as role models go, you're not getting much better than that. And I'm sure
Hmm.
SJ, if he was watching the Grey Cup, I'm sure he must have been impressed with what Samuel Emmons can do. And just to know that he helped inspire him in a way, I'm sure he'd be thrilled to hear about that. Uh, yeah, I will say Stevie Scott has proven himself in this playoff run to be the real deal. I mean, all 3 games that he played, he's had runs. He's done absolutely outstanding stuff. To be able to score a touchdown in the Eastern semifinal and the Grey Cup is absolutely tremendous. I mean, this ground game for Montreal. I mean, we kind of wondered how it was going to go at the start of training camp, but with Sean Thomas Erlington, Travis Tice, and Stevie Scott all contributing at a high level, man, like you, I'm really excited to see how these guys take it to the next level in 2026, especially Stevie Scott. I think you want to talk about like an emerging superstar on the horizon. That's him right there. And I'm glad we got to talk at Grey Cup as well with Stevie, and just a really solid dude. And yeah, I don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, if you start seeing more number 8 jerseys in the stands. And this time it won't be a Vernon Davis jersey; it'll be a Stevie Scott jersey.
Yeah. And then really, Al's had a chance. It's funny how the Rouge played an important part in this game right up to the very end, because it really did.
The same rouge that that fans are claiming Stuart Johnson wants to get rid of. He's altering it, folks. I want to make this very clear because a quick sidebar. Friday, the media had their State of the League address with Commissioner Stuart Johnson, and he reiterated of what was so important about like when it came to the rule changes. What were the things that were so important about this league? And he talked about we're not getting rid of the Rouge. We're just modifying it. We're going to take that loser point mentality away and make it mean something. Make it make sense. A little bit more. I mean, but yeah, it just felt like when the game starts off with a rouge, it almost felt like just a big old middle finger to the new commissioner to let him know that, hey, you can't take that away from us. Well, they're not taking away from you, ladies and gentlemen. They're just modifying, just making tweaks that make a little more sense, and give it time. And I think you'll see that it was the right call to make.
Jay Patterson has been an absolute beast on third down all season. As Jason
Mhm.
Moss stated in his post-game uh, press conference, the Owls had not failed on a third down convert short all season. It just so happened that this was at a time where it wasn't successful. I watched the play many a time on on the fumble. I'm still not sure what I saw. I think Shea had it tucked in his arm. The defender came up and I think hit him, and that's when it popped out. No helmet. As I stated earlier on Flight Deck Live, I was wrong. I saw it. I think that's what had happened. I think he was holding it in such a way the impact between him and the defender popped it out. And I think what a lot of people need to remember too is that one of the big things coming out of this, sure, it was a turnover, right? But the ball was recovered just on the goal line. And because that occurred, the ball moved out to the 30 instead of being from the 1.
Yeah.
What did you see with the fumble? I don't know how many times you watched. I watched it like a plethora of times just to try to see how it happened and so on.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, you know how I always talk about when it comes to short yardage, just fall forward? Instead, Shea Patterson thought he had a hole, kind of almost went off tackle even, uh, and I almost feel like he ran into Jordan Mason, and I was wondering if that's what caused the fumble, but ultimately, no, it was a Saskatchewan player that dislodged the ball from Patterson's hands, and yeah, I too thought it was recovered at the 1 yard line. Like, why are you going all the way up to the 30? This isn't a touchback. But as you said, it was right on the goal line, which as part of that, yeah, it's a touchback because this may have been a completely different story if Trevor Harris and the Riders had to start from their own 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Maybe well, without question, the play calling would have been completely different as far as
Yeah.
trying to blitz them, maybe get to safety, do something, but yeah, that hurt. I'm not gonna lie. That was I feel for Shea Patterson, and I know Rider fans are excited because he's a former Rider, and it's like, I can't believe it. Shea Patterson just helped us win the Grey Cup, and well, I guess when you put it that way, you're not wrong, but it's tough because I mean Shea Patterson has, as you said, been doing a phenomenal job on short yardage and goal line plunges. It has been fantastic at it. Even like it's almost like this was the role for him in this offense in this organization.
Yeah.
But as we've come to know many times over, Tim, he picked a bad day to have a bad day. And there's not really much you can do about that, unfortunately. I mean, in a perfect world, question for you, actually, as a thought. It was 2nd and 3 on the 3 yard. Like, it wasn't 2nd and goal. That's the thing that was, like, I think he needed 1 more yard to get the first down, or 1 or 2 more yards to get the first down, which is hilarious in and of itself. Do you think that was, like, had he gone straight, like just fall forward, do you think that would have been the right call to make, or the fact that he went off tackle practically and ended up, going head to head, so to speak, with a Rider player that dislodged the ball? Should they have just gone for it? Should Davis Alexander had taken that play and done something with it, like, or do you do a
As we've seen,
wildcat even?
well, no, as we've seen with Shea, and the same thing, Caleb Evans, et cetera. But I think Shea is more prone. If he sees a hole, he's going to try to go off tackle, which has worked for him ever since he's been in Montreal this year. I think that it was the right play. It was just the coverage was there.
Mm.
And Davis, no. There's no way in hell Davis should have been in for that. No.
No, with his
That's why
hammy
they
being
that's
yeah.
why they have Shea. That's why they have Shea.
Yeah.
If something else been called, could have gone the other direction, maybe. But again, as I just pointed out, this is the first fumble, first turnover on a short yardage situation all season. And it's,
which in and of itself is incredible when you think about it. But
Mhm.
but
it was
ultimately, that's
it was what it was.
yeah. I think ultimately that's the moment people are going to remember most when it comes to why the Alouettes lost the Grey Cup, and it shouldn't be because there's it was a lot of other things that just all culminated together as the reason why Montreal is not Grey Cup champion. But a lot of people are going to look at Shea Patterson and invariably blame him for it because like you have one job to do and you didn't do it properly.
There are many, many, many other reasons why. Yeah, two plays with Cabian. Again, revisionist history. If Cabian returns at pick 6,
who knows?
it would have been 7-0. It would have been 7-0 Alouettes at that point.
Yeah. Also, the run defense, they're trying to give different looks, but AJ Ouellette just wasn't having any of it, and he ran roughshod over this team. And we talked about how
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. They have kept, in essence, they have kept AJ Ouellette in check for most of the season. He had 50 yards in the first half, and he had 30 plus only in the second. You know what I mean? So I think they kept him. I think it was Trevor Harris and the line not being able to get to Trevor Harris. To me, that's what it was. I think they kept AJ pretty well. Sure, he scored a touchdown. Okay, so did Shea Patterson. You know what I mean? So,
but when you compare it to the effort that this defense had against, as I said, Brady Oliveira and Greg Bell, I think they did a much better job keeping those guys in check than they did with AJ Ouellette. Because again, Oliveira didn't score a touchdown. Greg Bell didn't score a touchdown, but AJ Ouellette scored a touchdown.
No, that's fair. That's fair. It's also short yardage too, I think.
Yeah, Tommy Stevens had 2 touchdowns for the Riders. I mean,
that too.
Again, these are all run plays. So,
yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, you go back and it could have been a what if type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A what if? It's all that really was. I mean, it's okay. Owls lost. Yeah, the Owls had gone into this Grey Cup being behind at halftime the last 3 times that they had been in the Grey Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Davis was trying to overcome an 18-point deficit, which ties us high in his career.
Yeah.
And I know people are going to hate me when I say this. Davis going into 2026 is still undefeated. Come at me, bro. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
He's going to start the regular season at 11-0.
That's true. Because there are separate stats.
He'll remember this. He'll remember this. That's the thing. You do not become a good quarterback by not facing adversity. And what Davis faced this year, what he's faced the past 2 years.
Oh, yeah. No.
It doesn't make, if you don't face adversity, I would not expect you to become a good quarterback or a leader. Davis is the leader of this club.
Without question.
Davis is for sure. Without, he just needs to heal up, get right. Yeah. See what he can do in St. Jerome in 2026.
And there's no question in my mind, he will be better. This sucks for him, and
it won't define him.
It will definitely not define him. I can promise you, this will not define Davis Alexander as a quarterback. He will win multiple Grey Cups in this league, without question. Yeah. He has shown what he's capable of doing. He has shown that he has what it takes to be a superstar in this league. This was just a bump in the road for him. And unfortunately, that came at such a big stage. And again, if Rider Nation wants to think that I'm sure they must feel too, like they finally exercised that demon of the 2009 Grey Cup. by beating the Montreal Alouettes. And sure, why not? Like if that's the route you want to take, then fine. But when it comes to maybe giving Davis Alexander a taste of his own medicine, if that's you, if you want to beat that narrative, have at it. But when it's all said and done, we're gonna look back at this. I'm like, okay, this was just an unfortunate little on the resume of Davis Alexander. I mean, let's not forget Anthony Calvillo. He won the Grey Cup in 2002. Then he lost the Grey Cup in 2003, 2005, 2006, 2008.
At home in 2008.
Yep. He was supposed to retire after that year. The fairy tale ending of winning the Grey Cup at home. Nope. Came back and won 2 more Grey Cups after that.
Played 5 more years, became the number one, the best quarterback in pro football history when it comes to passing yards.
Yeah. So if anyone knows what Davis Alexander is going through, look no further than the OC of this team, the QB coach of this team, one Anthony Calvillo. And I'm pretty sure Anthony had said to Davis after the game, like, listen, it's just one game, man. You've got so many more left. You've got so much more left in the tank. You're going to bring this team back to glory. And in a lot of ways, I think you already have. So, it's frustrating now. I'm sure Davis beyond crushed that he probably felt like he let his teammates down, the city of Montreal down, the province of Quebec down. I can assure you, Davis, you did not let anyone down. This was just a bad day at the office. You were hamstrung, pun fully intended, by all sorts of things. This is just going to make you better. You're going to look back at when you retire, hopefully in like 20 years, you're going to look back at this and be like, yeah, I guess I had to go through this to get to where I am today. That's my hope for him. That's my hope for Davis Alexander. And this Montreal Alouettes team, I think, will be richer for this experience because they realize, okay, you and I, we both tried to find so many parallels to this 2025 team, to the 2023 team that won the Grey Cup. And there were a lot of them. But also, too, this team really did show that it had its own flair, its own sort of identity. Unfortunately, it's also the identity of losing the Grey Cup to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But I think this overall will make the team better, will make them stronger. And those that want to come back and run it back, if you will, with this Alouettes team in 2026, they know what they have to do. It's now unfinished business, right?
That's right.
They now have they know what they had, how close they came to it. They didn't get the job done. If that's going to be what motivates them in 2026. That's what's going to make them say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not done here. I'm coming back. I want to be a part of this. I know this team is something special, and I want to be a part of it. So,
putting this aside, give me your one memory. I'll give you mine here. I think one of the coolest things for me, because obviously having press passes, is everybody knows you don't cheer in the press box. I thought one of the coolest things is, nobody was cheering in the press box itself, except for one person, whoever the hell that was, and that never happened again. But the cool thing about being in the press box is hearing the collective gasp or oohs or ahs from everybody that's there. Yes, we don't cheer. There's no cheering in the press box. But just the reactions from everybody in the press box at the same time. You don't forget that type of stuff. I mean, it's a cool experience, I will admit. But everybody just reacting to the play. It still happens. You're not in the field, you're not in the stands, but it's still happening, and it's cool. It's cool. It's muted, but it's cool. And I think it's one of the things I'm gonna remember, despite the outcome and game wise, and that's one of the things that I'll remember the most, despite everything that was done by the team this weekend.
Yeah.
So, what thing for you will stand up?
That's definitely a good thing. And it's funny you mentioned too, like, everybody like gasping and like, oh my gosh, like That's
Yeah.
allowed. That's not cheering, by the way. I mean, like, I think in the end, we're all football fans. We all love football. We all are excited by football. So when someone makes an outstanding play, whether it's for your team or not, and again, in, the press box is full of people that are impartial. That's how it's supposed to be. The fact that they can still be excited and in amazement when someone makes an absolutely outstanding play, that to me is what sports is all about. It's appreciating something for what it is, and just, regardless of whatever affiliation you have or whatnot, just the fact that you can say, wow, that was an absolutely incredible play. Oh my. So I get that, and I'm glad you noticed it. I noticed it too, and we can definitely appreciate just how amazing it is to be in that moment, to be in that sort of area with people that are very much like-minded with us. And yeah,
Mhm.
definitely a cool experience. My top Grey Cup memory is, it's hard because I mean there's a lot. There really was, and comparing it to other Grey Cups is almost not fair because it's not the same experience at all. I mean, this truly was special, in a lot of ways. Uh I think for us, like, we did a pregame show in 2023 as well, but we did it from the hotel room, like, and that was fine for what it was. But to now have the experience and to be able to say that we did a pregame show for our live stream on the field at Princess Auto Stadium, like, holy crap, like, that is amazing. I mean, postgame show, we did that too in 2023, kind of clandestine a little bit, but this
Impromptu.
impromptu, and yeah, like I said, a little cloak and dagger, but we did it, kind of guerrilla radio type. But this time around, it was legit and honest, and we were able to do it properly. And kind of tough though, because you kind of look off to the side and like, oh yeah, that's where the Rough Riders, all that green and white confetti, and you look up and like, oh yeah, Saskatchewan Rough Riders, 112th Grey Cup champions. I mean, for Alouettes fans, that's got to be that. I know that's a bitter pill to swallow, but the fact that we were able to still be there, still do our show, still do things the way that we want to do it is absolutely amazing. I'm beyond thankful that we have the opportunity to do stuff like this, and it just makes me want to do more. It just makes me want to see how much further we can go with this show, whether it's the regular podcast or Flight Deck Live or what have you. What other opportunities may come as a result of this? I mean, we've been doing this for 10 seasons now, Tim, and I've loved every second of it. And God willing, we get at least another 10 more out of each other, because this is just too much fun. This is, to be able to say that we do this, call it a hobby, call it whatever you will, because unfortunately this doesn't pay the bills. We doesn't pay our mortgages or our cars or anything like that. Like, we do this strictly because we effing love it. We love being able to get on and share with you guys our perspectives, our stories, our opinions. And a lot of you you're still coming up to us, even a Grey Cup, love the show, love what you guys are doing, keep up the good work. And believe me, that means the world to us. We love that you love what we do. And as long as we're able to, as long as we have the opportunities to, broadcast and do this for you, the fans, listeners, viewers, we'll keep on doing it. This really is, like, for me, the best Grey Cup memory is knowing that we were able to do what we did, and people appreciate it, and people love us for it. And I wouldn't trade that feeling for anything. I mean, had the Alouettes won the Grey Cup, sure, that's cool, that's awesome, great. But the fact that we were able to do what we did this week at Grey Cup, I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world.
Um, Quickly, we want to talk about what was the little bits and pieces that came out of the league's state of the league uh,
Address.
press conference on from Commissioner Stuart Johnston. First and foremost, he gave me a copa, basically saying when I talked about, you know, the changes that are going to be made for the major changes for 27. He basically said I should have said it's going to stay 3-down football. It's going to stay 65 yards wide or the width is going to stay the same. 3 downs, 12 men, et cetera, et cetera. I should have said that before. First and foremost, props to him for doing that.
Yeah.
Whether people believed him, that's another question. They're still the detractors and the naysayers. But you can tell by how much he got booed at the game this week.
Almost as much
Um,
as Prime Minister Mark Carney got booed. I mean,
no kidding. Yeah. Or Andre Prue. Like, what the come on, man.
people
Um,
just love to hate, don't they? Or
I
I
know, I know. We're a fickle bunch, CFL fans. Couple of things that stood out to me is that the league is going to be launching a new website, not only for the league, but for every single team in the league.
mm,
A new app, which is well overdue. Fantasy football. How did I forget?
hold
I
on.
think those are the main.
Don't just say fantasy. Let's be clear. It's fantasy football, folks, the way you expect it to be. It's
Yeah, yeah,
season long. You draft. If you start a league, you draft a team, you draft your players, and you go through the entire grind with them. It's not just pick'ems or anything like that. Like it's
right,
an
right, right, right,
actual,
right. Yeah,
an honest to goodness CFL fantasy draft.
yeah. Um, the other thing that stood out to me, which gained a little traction in our post, is that the league, if U Sports says no in June of 2026, that they are not going to be changing their rules and sticking with what they currently have with a 110-yard field, any of the stadiums that currently share a team with that a CFL team and a U Sport team share a stadium,
Mhm.
the league will be responsible for the changeover from the 100-yard field, CFL field, to the 110-yard U Sport minor football field in stadium. To me, that's huge. Um,
And that
see
would
what the
include the
logistics
goalposts
are.
too.
Yeah, well, as I said, that'll be part of the changeover. That'll be part of the
Yeah.
changeover. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. As I said, it's another year away, but the logistics itself, I'm sure will be come up with, figured out. But that is a savings to teams, especially in these. What was it? 4 markets, 5 markets
Four
that
markets.
share. Yep. Um, which is good. I think that's a great idea. Again, it will all come down to whatever U Sport decides to do in June of 2026 at their AGM, unless they decide earlier.
Yeah. I mean, they could still decide, okay, if that's the way the CFL is going, then we should go that way as well, if only because we are developing players that will primarily play in the Canadian Football League. So they may decide to go with it, or they may decide, you know what, our game is great the way it is. It works for us. You guys will just have to adapt. And the, the CFL, with that statement, the CFL is saying, okay, you do what's best for you. We'll do what's best for us. And if we got to shoulder the cost to make it work for us, then that's what we're going to do.
Interesting, especially with the changeover of the goalposts. Obviously that'll lead into some teams getting new turf. Obviously, the Alouettes are now going to be scheduled sometime to making changes to the turf and changing out the turf at Percival Molson Stadium. I'm going to try to get some more information on that. When I do, I'll put it out on social media. I don't think it'll be occurring this year over the off season. Who
Mhm.
knows? But either way, there will be new turf. We know there will be new turf in Edmonton because they've already started the process for winter time.
Toronto too.
Yeah, well, yeah, Toronto too. Well, they're grass anyways, so they change, don't they? They don't change it out, I think, as much as they do in the NFL. But I think they'll. Um, we'll see what happens in Calgary because we still haven't figured out if they're sewn in yet or, for their new turf in Calgary or not.
Mhm.
That would be a huge pain in the butt. But anyways, the for his first State of the League address, I think Commissioner Johnson did a good job. Very transparent on some of this stuff. Talked about the pluses when it came to the increases in television and all the superlatives that they would do when it comes to that type of thing. But he did a good job, he let forth some information, and he took some questions. He skirted some answers and stuff like that, but that's usually expected. That's usually expected.
Now, what do you
Did
think
you take
of?
anything? Do you take anything away from it?
Again, I felt that I'm glad they acknowledged that he should have been more forthcoming as far as explaining what makes the CFL so important and different, and the tenements that simply will not be messed with. Had he said that right from the hop,
Yeah,
I think the blowback would have been a lot less severe. I mean, there's some fans who, again, they simply don't want change at all. That's to be expected. Like, you just change absolutely nothing. Some people are open to change, but to a certain degree, and depends what. But this whole idea of trying to Americanize the CFL, or ruin what makes it special, and you just wait and see, it's going to go to 4 downs and it's going to be NFL light. Had Johnson stepped in front of that right away with the statement that he made at the State of the League address, you would not have seen nearly as much, I think, vitriol or you know gnashing of teeth, or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to the anger behind the idea of changing the rules and changing what makes the CFL so special and so unique. A lot of these rules, I think, are smart ones that need, quite frankly, are overdue, especially like, the opposing benches. I mean, that's one. If you're going to talk about the Americanization of the Canadian Football League, I mean, well, the Eastern Division's been doing it, for the longest time. So everybody should be on the same page. Like, either everybody both play on the same sideline or have opposing. All 9 teams. It shouldn't even be an issue. As we talked about earlier, the modification of the Rouge and how it's scored. Again, I love the idea that it takes that mentality out of the whole loser point, or rewarding failure, or whatever superlative you want to use when it comes to how people typically look at the Rouge. And I've said in the past, I'm going to miss seeing the 55-yard line. I mean, that little bit of nostalgia, be like, oh, dang, that's, and, the shortening of the end zones, moving the goal, like, little things like this here and there. I mean, I don't think these are real deal breakers, folks. I mean, I really don't. And I don't think that this, clearly Stuart Johnson has said this is not a gateway to other changes. I mean, he did say other changes may be looked at and whatnot, but he made it very clear, like 3 down football, 12 on 12, 1 yard off the, defense, 1 yard off the line, off the ball. Sorry. The waggle, like, these are the things that, to me, are truly what makes the Canadian Football League unique and special. Not necessarily where the goalposts are, or 35-second clock, or anything. Like, a lot of this is sound and fury, signifying nothing as far as I'm concerned. And it's kind of funny. Like, I heard some fans were even thinking about organizing a rally, because Stuart Johnson did actually have a impromptu meet and greet after initially canceling the fans' State of the League address, which I'm glad he did, because that would have just been an absolute shit show. There's no 2 ways about it, especially if you're going by, the State of the Leagues of the past. They're annoying as hell when you let the fans get up there and start blathering about stupidity. He did do a private sort of meet and greet. Like, I think 150 fans were selected at random. I don't know if they were screened in case, because I'm sure, like, some people, if they had the chance, would have loved to have gone up and given him a piece of his mind. But he did meet with some fans, and I'm sure he heard their concerns and everything like that as well. And hopefully, he gave the same reasonable, well thought out answers that we, the media, got. Because, I mean, I think everybody sort of came away from that saying, okay, you know what? I don't think these changes are super necessary, but let's give it a try and see what works, kind of thing. And let's not forget, a lot of these things are going to be discussed during the winter meetings in January, and maybe some of these things just simply may not be implemented, if only because if they can't think they can make it work properly, then they're not going to do it. So
Yeah.
a lot of this argle bargle could be just for nothing. But let's wait and see. I'm personally of the opinion that let's try it out, see if it works, and if it doesn't, I think by and large you can go back and reinstate the things that were so important to these fans that they were all up in arms about.
I agree. It'll be interesting. Like I said, start a little bit and we go from there. Um, I mean, we, the other last thing that I at least want to talk about before we finish up our 299th episode is Garbage Bag Day and the State of the Team address that was done today by the Alouettes. Anything really come out of it? Obviously, it was a little bit different for the State of the Team because, the position of president isn't president anymore. It's divvied up between Danny Machocha and Renee Masson.
Mhm.
Anything that you took away from it? Obviously, we're going to talk about the free agents in another episode. That list unofficially, officially kind of came out.
Mhm.
Did you take? I mean, from what you saw, because I'll be honest with you, I know you didn't see the entire thing, but do you take anything away from it, whether it be Garbage Bag Day or something else from today?
I think that the players that were interviewed realized that they unfortunately missed a great opportunity when it came to winning the Grey Cup. And I'm very much of the belief that this is going to motivate them further, that they're going to remember the pain that they felt on Sunday, watching the Riders raise the cup, knowing full well it should have been them, and had a couple of things bounce their way a little bit more. They'd be the ones that would be the 112th Grey Cup champions. But I think that's just going to serve as motivation and the opportunity to, as I said, run it back. I'm sure it's going to be very appealing for a lot of these pending free agents. Let's be honest, not everybody's going to come back in 2026. There are certain players that I feel absolutely have to come back, one of those being Tyson Philpott. And the one thing that Danny Machocha said is Tyson wants to stay here. We want Tyson to stay here. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens.
Right.
And there are times where you feel like that's going to be lip service from the general manager, saying, "Oh, of course we want to keep this player," but then when it comes to dollars and cents, all of a sudden, I can't seem to find my wallet here. But I think knowing full well that it's a mutual thing with Philpott and with the Alouettes, just get the numbers right. And believe me, Tyson Philpott is worth every penny that you pay him, without question. When he's healthy, he's simply unmatched. I truly believe, and this is no disrespect to Jalen Philpott, his twin brother. I truly believe, and I think it's been proven time and time again, the Alouettes got the better Philpott brother. You'd be wise to keep him. Let's not forget, in 2023, he said he wanted to be an Alouette for life. So make it happen. I mean, maybe that was just the high of the Grey Cup and the parade and the emotions and everything like that. Maybe that's what made him say that. But make it happen. I mean, to me, that's paramount. Like, if Danny Machocha can get this deal done well before free agency, that is a massive, massive win for the Alouettes. Maybe Tyson may truly want to, poke around and see what's doing out in the rest of the league, but I think he realizes what he's got here and how amazing it is. And all indications sounds like he wants to stay. It's just get the numbers right. And I agree. Definitely get the numbers right. You don't have to blow your brains out to keep Tyson Philpott, but he's not going to play for free either. I mean, there's somewhere in the middle. There's a number that both of these sides can agree on and keep Alouettes fans happy. I mean, I don't expect him to sign a 4-year contract like Austin Mack did, but I think if you can keep Tyson Philpott here in the 514 happy, he wants to be a part of this team. He wants to be a part of this organization. He loves being a part of this, you know, this environment. So make it happen. Simply put, make it happen. And Davis Alexander is going to be thrilled to see number 6 lining up and catching touchdown passes. It's just a simple matter of get the numbers right. And if they can do that,
And people need to remember too that usually, as Danny even said today, is that they want to try to get everything done before the holidays for some of these guys. That's their MO. That's been their MO for the past couple of years since Danny's been here. Try to get the guys that they want to make. I don't want to say that they want to make. No, they want to make. They want to bring back. It's kind of weird saying that because they want to try to bring back everybody. But we've seen the potential of the people who are going to be on the list.
well, and also too, let's not forget, like typically Dan Machosha hasn't really made any super splashy moves in free agency. Like when free agency opens, mind you, it's normally because he's already signed a lot of the top talent to contracts well beforehand,
Yeah,
as you said, before the holidays. So in a way,
facts.
that's his free agents. His free agent frenzy is in December. So God willing, they find a way to keep Tyson Philpott here, keep him happy, and make him, along with Davis Alexander, one of the cornerstones of this franchise. Because let's face it, Tyson Philpott is truly something special. We've known this now for quite some time. And as long as Davis Alexander is throwing him the ball, only good things are going to happen. So I say if they get this deal done before Christmas, that would be, I couldn't think of a better Christmas present for Alouettes Nation than to see.
Oh, wait, that's the other thing. And I can't believe we totally bypassed it. During the league State of the League address, it was announced that the CFL schedule will be released on December 9th.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is
my
absolutely tremendous.
Yep. By the way, one question real quickly, an aside to what you're just talking about season about potential free agencies and free agents signing them. One question that I have for Danny Mack, which we hope to have him on the show before the end of the broadcast season,
Mm-hmm.
is that with all the injuries that the Owls had this year, Cliff, are they potentially going to be over the salary cap? And if they're over the salary cap, are they afraid? Are they concerned that they may lose draft picks in the Canadian draft in 2026? It's a
See, the
question that
thing
needs
is,
to be asked.
sure. I mean, let's not forget though that when you put someone on the 6-game injured list, for example, their salary doesn't count, but as soon as it comes off, it does. So the one thing that Danny Machocha has been very proud of is the past 2 years, he's had the lowest salary, like the
Yeah.
lowest salary cap or salary management system in the CFL. And look what they've done. They've won a Grey Cup. They've gone to an Eastern Final with the best record in the league, and now this year gone to a Grey Cup.
Right. Right. And but
So
to be fair too, which may need this time this far into the year now, when we are, to my question I just had is the extra money that was put into the salary cap earlier in the season, will that help cover it?
mm,
I did not think about that when I thought of the question, but that's what that could be the saving grace for this Owls team, considering all the quarterbacks that we had on the roster this year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
You never know.
I mean, typically Danny Machocha doesn't blow his brains out on anybody, but maybe
Having that
just
extra money may help. So we'll
well,
see.
maybe with that extra money, maybe he might decide, okay, you know what? Maybe there is that one piece that I'd really like to have, and
Oh,
now I can go
no.
get it.
I meant as far as 25
Oh yeah.
potentially being over the cap. But yes, you're right. I think he'll probably be able to use the money more to his advantage this time around in 26. Now knowing that he is going to have it, and obviously there will be a slight incremental increase in the salary cap, which is built into the current CBA. And I think it's supposed to be like 6.02 million. I think for 2026. I'd have to go back and check, but I think it's somewhere around that.
Yeah. So yes, this will be a very interesting off season, but yeah, and technically it starts now, like when you think about it. So
Yeah. Don't wait for the locker room sale. It starts now. I think
Yeah,
it's usually as soon as we get is the state of the team address. Yeah, that's when it starts.
agreed.
So
And yes, I'm definitely also looking forward to the CFL schedule coming out in December, like it should be, like it has been before. Like last year was a kind of a weird situation. Like they waited till like I think was
February.
just before or just after free agency started was when they finally dropped the schedule.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they never said what the issues were, but I think it's probably Toronto and BC. And but now with the issues that are currently happening with BC and Toronto, those dates had to be scheduled already because of the what's happening with the World Cup.
Yeah,
And let's see. By the way, let's see if your intuition comes to fruition about the Owls playing in Kamloops.
Kelowna.
Kelowna still begins with a K. It's another city in BC. But either way, let's see if your prediction comes true. We'll find out in about 20 days.
I've never been to Kelowna. I think that might have to be something to do.
You never know. Again, this was show 299. 300 will be coming soon. We're not done with the broadcast season for this year. Our 10th broadcast season is not done
Not yet.
uh, yet. But again, thanks to everybody in the CFL who gave us the opportunity that we were given. We hope that it shows other CFL teams that we do present ourselves as professionals, and we would love to be able to have the opportunity to do what we do in your stadium. Um, that's my hope.
Yeah, and
Um,
again, once again,
again, yeah,
I will echo those same statements. Yes, once again, a huge thank you to the Canadian Football League for giving us this opportunity. The fact that the Alouettes were in the Grey Cup, I'm sure, may have helped the cause just a little bit, but the fact of the matter is, we still had to do the work, and we relish that. We don't run from a fight; we run to a fight. We want to be we're dogged in wanting to provide the best possible content for not just Alouettes fans, but CFL fans league wide. And
mm,
opportunities like this are ones that I know don't come so easily, and we truly are appreciative of everyone that said, "Yeah, you guys deserve this. You go do your thing. We believe in you." So to get that vote of confidence from the very league that we cover, again, thank you so much to the CFL. It truly was a privilege to be able to do this.
it was. We will be back again, as I said. Stay tuned to all of our socials. We'll put out the links again for our Grey Cup playlist. If you haven't watched any of the interviews, check them out. Again, some of them are over on our full archive. They're over there too.
Mhm.
And stay tuned for what's next. Um, again, we hope we have a couple of surprises before the season ends. Um, so again, thanks for everybody that listened. If you haven't, head over there. Head over to the playlist. It's it's a fun watch, I will admit. So, Cliff,
If you if you
I will
want,
talk to you. Yes.
what you could do, if you really want to add the fun, you can start your own phone party. Listening to the
Yes.
flight deck, you can start your own phone party. Why not? Hey,
That would be interesting. Just seeing that alone was interesting in itself.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, yeah. So, Cliff, I will talk to you soon, and obviously, we will be talking to you, our listeners and viewers, in a very short period of time for uh, our milestone 300th episode. So, for the last time here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.